Welcome back to the Prayin and Slayin Podcast. My name's Aaron, your host, and today we have another Operation Hunt episode with Mr. Craig Greer, actually an old buddy of mine from way back in the day. We grew up 2 towns apart. But Craig Greer is a U.S. Army veteran. He's done guard and active duty, and he's coming on to tell us about an awesome New Zealand hunt he went on with his dad. Once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, maybe twice in a lifetime. He had such a good time. We'll let him tell that story. But we're going to learn all about his military background. We'll probably have some banter back and forth, old childhood friends here. And, of course, I don't think him and I ever talked to each other without a little snarkiness going back and forth. So with that, guys, this is Craig Greer, an Operation Hunt episode here on the Prayin and Slayin Podcast, part of the Prayin and Slayin Podcast Network. Let's jump into it with Craig. That's a nice-looking stash.
Thanks. Same to you. Trying to follow in your footsteps here.
Heck yeah, dude. Awesome, man. Well, Craig, welcome to the Prayin and Slayin Podcast, dude. And it's good to see your face again. It's been a while. I think the last time we saw each other was like eating lunch in Van Meter for one random day. I can't remember why we even were hanging out or whatever, but it's been a minute.
Yeah, well, I think you were back in town for the weekend or something. You guys were getting some stuff packed up from your parents' house. For
okay.
Moves,
yeah, that could be. Yeah. Going between probably Montana and Virginia, or Montana and Maryland, probably. Not even sure. It's been a minute. Long time ago. Well, let's. You are retired Army. Did a little bit in the active duty, did a little bit in the guard side. What made you want to join the Army way back in the day instead of being smart like me and my wife and joining the Air Force?
Yeah, so funny story about that. We had a guy that we went to church with, but he retired out of the Air Force. You probably know him, Tom Hagen.
Okay.
And
I know the last name.
His wife was really involved in the Wednesday night stuff that we did growing up. But when I was looking at joining the military, I wanted to join the Army just because I like to shoot guns, and I knew college wasn't going to be my thing. And so I was talking with him, and he said, "You need to join the Air Force. You need to join the Air Force because while the Army is sleeping on the ground, we're sleeping in hotels." And I was always like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to go be a tough guy and tough it out in the woods, And, yeah, there were definitely times looking back where I was like, yeah, I should have joined the Air Force.
Sure.
I was lucky enough to be up in Alaska on a joint base with the Air Force, and we would always go over to their chow hall because their food was just hands down way better than ours. And yeah, so there were definitely times where I was like, man, Tom was right. Like, I didn't want to admit it. Tom was right. But no, I knew college wasn't going to be my thing. And I wanted to get out of town for a while, so I was like, whatever, I'll do this and I'll go see the world and, do that whole thing. And there were definitely things about it where if I could have changed some things, maybe I would have. But at the end of the day, I don't regret it for a second. I made some pretty solid friendships and got to do a lot of things that when you look back, they were kind of hard to believe that I got to do some of it, so. Yeah,
man. 100%. What was your job?
So I was just airborne infantry.
Okay.
I was up with the 509th out of Alaska and was up there for 4 years. I did 2 deployments with them. The first one, I was with the scout platoon. And then the second one, I was with Dog Company, which was the heavy weapons company.
Okay, very cool. For people who don't know, like infantry and what you did, especially out of Alaska, like what did a day in the life of that job look like?
That's all depends on the day and what we got going on. Some days it was you wake up in the morning, go do PT, work out, and then come back, eat breakfast, shower, change, do all the things. Some days we were sitting down in our basement, which was our office area, just doing trainings down there. Other days we were out in the field, just doing all sorts of stuff. But yeah, it really depended on the day. But then we'd go do like week-long training operations, essentially. And we'd do jumps periodically throughout the month. It always seemed like those were nighttime jumps for whatever reason, but yeah, that was a lot of fun jumping out of planes. It was nice when the snow was powder, but when the snow was hard packed, that kind of made for a rough landing. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So as far as infantry, depending on where you're stationed, I guess it could be totally different. You got like Fort Hood, Texas here, and then you've got Alaska, polar opposite terrains. Like, is your guys's training and overall walk of life relatively similar, just different atmosphere you're walking around in, or is there particular things that you would specialize in being stationed in Alaska versus someone like stationed here in Fort Hood?
I mean, we had more of the cold weather training just because of where we were, I guess. But
yeah,
all in all, I think for the most part, it was all just infantry stuff, learning how to, move on targets and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't have any experience at any of the other bases. So I don't know a whole lot about what their day-to-day life was, but yeah, for the most part, I think the only thing that we had was people would come up there from other units to do cold weather training in the winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't.
Awesome, man.
Other than being airborne, that was the only thing that kind of set us apart from other regular infantry units. Just because then obviously we're going and jumping out of planes, and if they need somebody to go jump on a target, we're able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Did you do any jumping? You said you had 2 deployments. Did you do any of your jumping airborne stuff while you're deployed, or is it all kind of boots on the ground?
Yeah, no, that was all boots on the ground. We got, obviously, we air assaulted into some places, or, took birds and got flown into different places and dropped off, but we didn't have any combat jumps. I think there was one maybe that I know of. It was well before my time. That happened, I believe, in Afghanistan, but yeah, that was well before my time. So no, over there we were mostly driving in vehicles, or every now and then we'd jump in a helicopter and get flown in somewhere.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, very cool. Do you have any, were you a long distance relationship during that time, or were you a single dude doing the military thing?
Oh yeah, I had a long distance relationship, which,
Did you?
I mean, it was what it was. It worked out at the time. And we made it through, and that was a hard thing. I know it was a hard thing for a lot of people. There was a lot of people that got the letters even just a couple months into being there. Luckily, I wasn't one of those people. But
yeah, family life's always interesting. Everybody's kind of got a little bit different take on it, overall. But yeah, and you did. How long were you? You said you were only stationed in Alaska, base station, I guess. So where did you do basic training? And then how many total years active duty did you do up there in Alaska?
So basic was down in Fort Benning, Georgia, and then got straight out of basic. Went like graduation day, straight over to airborne school, and that was kind of the first taste of real Army life outside of basic. And so did the 3 weeks there for training, and then flew home and was home on leave for like a week or so, and then went up to Alaska from there. So I was active duty for like 4 years and 3 months or whatever it is, because it's never exactly just 4 years now. So
Right.
yeah, it was 4 years and a couple months that I ended up being active duty overall. And so up in Alaska, technically stationed there the whole time. And then, the first year or the first deployment, it was a year-long one. And then the second deployment was like a 9-month deployment.
Okay. Very cool, man. And then being in Alaska, I mean, that's a dream destination of ours. We've had it. I don't think we've even had it pop on the list to be an option for us to put in for yet. Keep crossing our fingers every time. But did you guys get any, did you guys have time to go do hunting and fishing and all that good stuff up there and kind of the dream state, or was it more on base stuff?
Yeah, man, dude, Alaska was a blast. That's one area where I definitely have regrets. I had an opportunity up there to do a lot of hunting and fishing. But the way Alaska's broke up into zones, and each zone can have a sub-zone, and they can all have different rules. And so shortly after I had gotten up there were some guys that went caribou hunting, and they were in the right zone. They were just in a sub-zone that was closed. They didn't know. Harvested some. Yeah, so they ended up harvesting caribou, and shortly after they harvested them, the game warden rolled up on them, and they, explained what they were doing and whatever, and he told them, well, you guys need to be like 2 miles that way because this zone is closed.
No.
So I think obviously they didn't get to keep the caribou. They got a ticket, I know for sure, but I don't know. I don't remember if they lost their guns or not. But anyway, so I had heard about that. Some guys in the unit, and I didn't want that to happen to me. So I was trying to get with some people who knew the rules, some local people, and every time I had something lined up, it just fell through. Either they'd have something come up, or we'd have a last minute training that would come up, or whatever. The timeline just didn't work out. So got to do a lot of fishing, and that was a blast. And got to do we hunted for some, I think it was grouse. Me and one of my buddies ended up shooting a few of those once or twice, but yeah, other than that, no, I didn't get to do any bear hunting or any moose or caribou, which at the time would have been resident rates, and that would have been all right. So now it's if I ever get back up there, it's going to be out of state rates, and I'm going to have to sell a kidney to do it probably. So.
Well, you got 2 of those, so don't worry about that.
Yeah,
no, that's wild, man. I feel like that's half the battle getting stationed at all these different places is learning the reg book every time all over again. I mean, you and I both grew up in Iowa, and I don't know, I never maybe just grew up there. I never really felt like Iowa's regulations are all that complicated. They're fairly straightforward. You got deer and turkey and pheasant and whatever, but you got season dates open, season dates closed, sunlight, sunset, whatever. But man, I remember the first time we went out to the East Coast, where we got stationed in Virginia, and trying to read through that reg book, I was like, to your point, I don't know what the heck I'm supposed to even do. Or, you can hunt on certain times of the year. You can hunt this section of the state, and or this public hunting area, and you can only hunt does on these days and a buck on that day. And on Sunday, you have to take a 3-hour break. And I mean, it was just like some wild rules. And it's just like, by the time you get done reading the book, you're like, I don't even know if I want to go, because I'm just kind of afraid I'm going to screw something up and get in trouble, And then, a lot of states are kind of like that. Maryland wasn't too bad. It was pretty straightforward overall, but they have some rules based off counties. But then here in Texas, it's, I wouldn't say, well, the reg book, it's definitely got some more details in the reg books, so, as far as what legal deer are and that kind of thing. But then you start hunting like Fort Hood military area and all the Corps of Engineers ground around here, and it's all broke up in training units, and each training unit has quotas and sign-in times and the amount of people that can be on it. So it can get kind of just complex. And I think in a lot of ways it can kind of push people out. So I don't blame you being playing it safe up in Alaska. and that's a state you really don't want to mess up. And I want to think with some of the game rules they have too on how serious they take that, just based off what I've seen on TV. But yeah, that'd be pretty intimidating if you have a zone closure and it's a matter of a couple miles, because in Alaska, it's a couple miles probably isn't anything to, seem like you're totally safe, but you're actually really close to boundary lines and stuff.
Yeah, so that kind of discouraged that, but like I said, the fishing was good. I got a chance to go salmon fishing quite a bit and got pretty good at it. There was a spot right in the middle of Anchorage, and I had my lucky lure, and I'd show up, and 15 minutes I'd have my 3 fish, and I'd get out of there. And I remember one day I showed up, and so my second deployment, I was getting out, and I was getting out at a time while the rest of the unit was still deployed. So I got sent home just a couple months early on that deployment, and was doing the whole, reintegration into being a human again and all the things. And so I come back, I'm on what they called Rear D, and the first sergeant happened to be a guy that I knew. He was one of my former first sergeants, and he was a freaking awesome dude. And I got back, and he flat out told me, like, hey, I've got my hands full with all these guys, because a lot of the people that were back on Rear D were people that were getting kicked out, more or less, whether it be for DUIs, drugs, or whatever. And so he just flat out told me, hey, I've got my hands full with these guys. Go to your classes that you need to go to and show up for morning formation. And after that, I do not care what you do. And I was like, Roger that, first sergeant. Got it. So I was tracking the tides, and I mean, every day I was going down and trying to catch my limit. And you get to know, I mean, all the locals are there. It'd be the same, 10, 15 people standing there every day. And so one day I showed up and was talking to one of the guys. I was like, anybody catching anything? He's like, oh, that guy's caught 1 and somebody else caught 2. And, there had only been like 5 or 6 fish that had been caught so far, because it was just getting into the tide coming in. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I go out, and legitimately 15 minutes, just boom, boom, boom. And they had all been there for 30 or 45 minutes already, And in no time, I had my 3 fish, and I just look over. I was like, all right, guys, see you later, kind of give them a thumbs up. And I just rolled out of there for the day, because I was at my limit. And yeah, that was fun. I do miss that. I'd love to go back and do that again, because the salmon fishing up there was great.
That's super cool, man. What did you got any famous, if you're catching that many salmon, you got any famous salmon recipes, or were you doing it like sushi style, or what were you doing with it?
We had one of the guys up there, he smoked a lot of salmon, and so it was just brown sugar and kosher salt was all he used. And you just let it sit overnight. It kind of turns into a thick paste, like almost like a syrup type stuff. The brown sugar kind of melts down, and it turns into like a liquid. And yeah, dude, he would smoke it, and it was almost like eating jerky, kind of, just like that. But and we had a bag of it when I got out of Alaska. One of my best friend and my cousin flew up there, and we drove my truck back. And so I had him smoke me a bunch of salmon before we left. And, we had a couple big plastic bags, Ziploc bags full of it. I was like, oh yeah, this will last us for a while. And I don't even know that we really made it into Canada before that stuff was gone, because you just sit there and it was so good.
Just like candy.
So yeah, we had that stuff gone in no time, just the three of us. But
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's I loved Montana. It was trout up there. There was a couple opportunities you could get to go hit some salmon runs in different parts of like the Flathead Valley and different lakes and stuff. Never got a chance to go. I never went to go do it. I had some buddies that did, and you're more or less kind of like snagging them out of the river while they're doing the last end of one of their runs, I guess. I don't know if they're like hitting lures or not. I know like some guys like treble hook snag them. But yeah, trout fishing was, that's how I did almost all my trout, was just once I started smoking, it's like, man, I don't know if I'd do it any other way. It's just so good to eat that way. So then you transitioned out of active duty and then you went to the Guard, right?
Yeah, I did
or reserves.
about a year and a half in the Guard, just to eat up the inactive ready reserve, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And that was
Did you
okay.
have to do that? Was that a choice you made?
No, it was a choice I made, just because right around that time you were starting to hear stories about people getting stop lost again and whatnot. And so, or they were talking about, recalling people. And so just going into the Guard, instead of having 3 years and however many odd months left where they could do that, you just go in and do a year and a half, and it cuts that time down. And then once you're out, you're a free man. So, yeah, I just went ahead and went that route, and went up to a unit in Iowa Falls, and was up there for a year and a half doing the weekend warrior stuff.
Doing the thing. So, same job?
Yeah, same job. So, except for they were just a regular non-airborne unit. So
nice. And so I remember when you first made that transition, you and I were talking about it. I don't remember what conversation we're having, but you said the lifestyle of the Guard was kind of maybe driving you nuts compared to the lifestyle of active duty. What was the major difference, or what was some things you liked or didn't like about each side compared to the other?
The Guard, there's a lot of good dudes in the Guard. Don't get me wrong, but there were also some of your stereotypical ones, what other people in active military think of when they think of National Guard. But for the most part, it was a lot of really good dudes and some really good leadership. But yeah, man, you'd show up on the weekend and sometimes there just wouldn't be much. So you're just sitting there for a while, and then you might, look at some training, do like some slideshow presentation, death by PowerPoint or whatever. But it just drove you nuts, feeling like you were just wasting time. All of a sudden they'd have something that you'd have to do right at the end of the day that had to be done before you could go. And we're like, we've literally been here all day.
And now you want to dump it on us. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was one of those things that it was kind of weird, because I talking to a lot of the guys, I think everybody kind of felt the same way, like there'd be the build up before you get to drill weekend, where you're like, man, can't wait to get back and see the guys and talk and BS with everybody. And then about the second you pull in the driveway, you're like, crap, here we go again. Like, it's just a doom kind of feeling. But yeah, like I said, I made quite a few good friends in the Guard. Some people that I still talk to, to this day, that were just solid people. And so, yeah, I mean, all in all, it ate up the time. It did what I needed it to do, but just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a couple of my father-in-law, he did 4 years active duty Air Force over in Germany, and then came stateside and joined the Iowa Air National Guard and did the rest of his 20 there. Made a career out of it. I know some of the guys some of the guys like it and some of the guys don't, but I think it's probably easier to understand too from a active duty to guard standpoint. Like the lifestyle is totally different. And, at the end of the day, you're a part-time soldier, part-time airman, then you do get to live the rest of your life compared to an active duty person stationed 100% on base and living the lifestyle and doing the trainings and all the things. And it's totally different. There's people that make the most of it. And some people, like you said, it's just more of they show up on the weekend and then that's about the extent of their service level and their mentality. And that probably drives someone nuts too.
Yeah. Well, and then the guard kind of started messing with things where, it used to be you were going to do your one weekend a month. Well, one weekend was 2 days. Well, then all of a sudden they'd start saying like, oh, we're going to do like 4 days worth of training or whatever. And you'd have to take extra time off work. And it was just like the schedule would get flipped around and, trying to have a life outside of the guard, but then also being at their call all the time. It was something to juggle. And I was like, dude, I got other things I want to do. And this isn't it. So
this isn't it.
Yeah. Doing instead of just doing a weekend, it was a Thursday to Sunday thing. And, I'm trying to go to school and have a job to pay bills. And, obviously, work is required to give you the time off, but, people aren't always happy that you're gone all the time.
For sure. Now that's interesting. Yeah. That must be an Army side thing. I never saw that in the Air National Guard side. It was always, it was a Saturday, Sunday drill. The only time you had longer than that was if they'd randomly have an inspection. That was like a once a year thing. And then they would do, your typical 2-week TDY, like to Wisconsin or whatever, where it's like the whole unit goes and does some sort of a training mission. But other than that, you just had your 2 weeks a year. And sometimes it was those TDYs and sometimes it was just at location. But those were always scheduled well in advance. There was never really a mess. Once you left the base for the weekend, like you're your own person for the next 28 days. You never really got messed with or contacted. And, unless you were getting in trouble for something or, the law reported back to the guard base, you got caught doing something stupid that side or whatever. But yeah, you were never really had that intermix of the lifestyle. Like for me, it felt very much like you are a part-time airman. It's part of who you are. It's coming up every month, but you don't really think about it a whole lot when you're not actively there. So
and we, there were things about my time in the guard that I probably would have done differently too. But from coming off of active duty, there was just a dramatic change. And they were getting geared up at one point for a deployment, and we were doing some trainings, and they were going over camouflage and all these things, and trying to do all this high-speed stuff. I'm like, guys, we're never going to do that. And they're like, yeah, we are. We're going to do that. I'm like, no, you're not. This is the rules of engagement. If you leave the wire, you have to have this many Afghan forces with you. Like, you have to have this many people. You're not going out in small kill teams and face paint and acting like Rambo out here, and so, I'm I try to convey that a couple times, and people are like, no, this is what we're doing. And I'm like, okay, but right. It was, they had some people who had been on a deployment, or two, some other leadership, but it was a lot of new, non-deployed guys. And they're like, well, this is what we're being told. All right.
Yeah. All right, man. We'll see.
Let me know how it works.
Did you end up going on any of those deployments with those guys, or was your deployment stuck to the active duty?
No, I don't think they ever got called back up. There was rumors that they were possibly going to, and I don't think it actually ended up happening. It was kind of towards the tail end of things. But.
Okay. Awesome, man. And then when you finally, the day did come and the year and a half was up and you got out, you said you're already working a full-time job being a guardsman. What was your job while you're in the Guard, and what did you move into after service?
Well, while I was in the Guard, I was going to school, so I was up in Minnesota for gunsmithing. And a buddy of mine, we had talked about trying to open our own shop and just sell guns and do the thing. So I had a part-time job at Gander Mountain selling guns. But yeah, I got out of the Guard and had finished up school, and then realized it was going to cost a lot of money that I didn't have to open a shop of my own. So moved back down here and worked on a farm for a little while. Just kind of had odd and end jobs for a while. Worked for a guy doing lawn care stuff, started doing HVAC stuff, and realized that working in an attic in the middle of summer when it's 95 degrees and humid absolutely sucks, and that's not someplace that I care to be.
Yeah.
But it was a great opportunity for me, doing that HVAC stuff. That was one company, one of the best bosses I ever had, across the board. Just an awesome guy. And he actually helped me out more than once. But left there and got into law enforcement. Was a cop in my hometown for a couple of years, and there were just some things around that weren't great, and people hated cops. Not we, in Iowa, we're pretty lucky. Like we don't have a lot of that stuff too bad. I mean, you'll get some people that just like to raise hell and complain, but for the most part, most people are pretty good and pretty supportive. But yeah, there's just some things with the leadership there where I was like, I need to get out of here, and ended up going back. The guy that I worked for doing HVAC stuff went into him and said, "Hey man, I'm in a spot, and this, I just need out until I can find the next thing." And he was like, "Yeah, he goes, we're busy as can be. We need the help. So, yep, come on back. I'll pay you pretty decent, for not, for just being a helper. I was making pretty good money. And so he's like, "Yeah, come on back." So I did that for a couple months, and then ended up kind of finding the next thing, and went into him and said, "Hey, man, I know I've only been here for a couple months, but I found this good opportunity, and I think I need to take it." And he was like, "Okay, well, if that doesn't work out, come on back." I was like, "Okay."
Heck yeah, dude.
But
Yeah.
how many places can you quit on them twice and they still offer you to come back? So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I got out of, the law enforcement stuff, and eventually ended up taking a job with public works with one of the cities around here, and did that for a couple years because, I was trying to go kind of back into law enforcement. My wife and I were trying to have a kid at the time, and so going to one of the bigger departments, it probably would have meant an overnight shift. And she kind of had the come to Jesus meeting with me that if she thought she was going to work all day and take care of a kid all night while I was at work, I was probably wrong. And so that was when I, got into public works for a while and kind of had given up on, law enforcement or anything else as an option. And I had a buddy that, I was still on Van Meter on the fire department, and had a buddy that had gotten on at Waukee, and he just said, "Hey man, we're hiring, you should look at part-time." And I was like, "Okay, cool." You know, still didn't think it was actually an option for a full-time, just because, I didn't have the schooling. I had my certifications through the volunteer department, but didn't think it was an option for a full-time career for me, and ended up getting in there and, you know, kind of working hard and just put my head down and learn from the guys and gals there, and ended up getting hired on, a couple months, 6 months later or whatever, when they had a job open up. So it's been a great opportunity for me, and it's been really great for my hunting. So
Yeah, I was gonna say. So you got
yeah,
full time fire department opportunity at the city of Waukee. So I worked for that same public works department. I think my last 2 years of high school, or right when I got out of high school, for like 2 seasons or whatever through there, and I stayed on through the winter of one and ended up leaving after the summer of the next one. Anyway, I remember seeing the fire department schedules in one of the public works buildings on one side of town. Like they just had them posted, and I was like, 1 day on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 3 days off. I was like, that seems like a great job for hunting. So that's awesome that you got in there and you guys have a cool hunting schedule now. And of course, you said
yeah,
you got married too. So we're not going to fast forward too fast. So now you got a wife and the whole family thing going on too, huh? When did that kick in? During your guard time or after guard? Or I want to hear
uh,
the love story.
oh, it was. Let's see. It was well after my guard time. It was, we had met towards the tail end of me being in law enforcement. Um, and it was just kind of one of those things. We knew each other, but we knew of each other, but we didn't really know each other. Her brother was a couple years younger than me in school, and we played football together. And then when I got back, out of the Army and stuff, him and I kind of became pretty close and started doing a lot of hunting and fishing together and stuff like that. And she had been married and got divorced, and so she was up at her dad's house one night, and Max, my buddy, was up there, and I was just getting off work, and so I stopped up there, and they were having margaritas on the patio, and evidently she had had enough to make her think that I was cute. So we kind of started talking, and it was one of those deals where obviously it was my buddy's sister. So before we even really got too heavy into it, well, at first, to be completely honest with you, we started, just kind of chatting a little bit, but I didn't think too much of it. I was like, oh, it's Max's sister. She's just being nice to me, or, talking to me because, I'm his friend. And
Yeah.
we had kind of bumped into each other at some different events around town and whatever. And, you know, her and her other sister would come up and we'd be talking and whatever. And I was just completely oblivious, I guess. Because it wasn't until a couple weeks later, Max had to put one of his dogs down. And so he was having a rough time. So I went in to talk to him, and we were just sitting there talking and shooting the shit. And he said, well, it sounds like Chelsea's got a new man crush. And I was like, oh, yeah, who's that? And he just kind of looked at me like I was stupid. And I was like, who? I said one of our other friends. I I was like, oh, is it him? Because the ladies seemed to like him. And he was like, no. So I'm just sitting there looking at him, and I was like, oh, me? He goes, yeah. I was like, oh, I still got it.
All
Yeah.
righty then. Yeah, let's go.
And so anyways, we kind of talked a little bit more for, a week or so. And, then I told her, I said, hey, listen, before, we do anything, like, I said, you're Max's sister, like, you're my buddy's sister. I got to talk to him. I got to get the okay. So we went fishing one night, and I just said, hey, listen, man, we're talking, I'd kind of like to see where it goes, but if you're not comfortable with that, like, say your piece right now, and I walk away, and we're done. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm not going to have hard feelings or anything. Just say it. And he just said, well, I don't think you'll do anything where we still won't go fishing together. I was like, okay. So
there you go.
So kind of got the blessing there. And then we started dating for a little bit. And, she ended up, at that time, she was just finishing up her master's for psych to be an NP. And so she got her master's and got a job doing that. And then shortly after that, sometime, we got engaged and got married during COVID, which was great. We just
great, or COVID great.
Actually, all in all, if I had to have a wedding again, it would be that way.
Yeah.
We got married at a place out in Adair, which is west of here a ways. But they were super great people. They had massive discounts for military people, which I am the last person to do that. Like, I do not, like, even if you go to different banquets and whatever, and they ask everybody to stand up if you're in the service or whatever, I just stay seated. I don't need people to clap for me. That's not why I did it. And so, like, I'm always kind of the last person to throw that around. If people have questions, or people like know and they want to hear stories, fine. I'll tell you stories all day. I won't, I make sure I don't embellish them. Like, I got to do a lot of cool stuff. I got to see a lot of cool things in Afghanistan, especially my first deployment, but I'm not going to be one of those people that's telling you I was out there like Rambo running around. But when somebody's offering you like a 50% discount for your wedding, I'm like, yeah, we will save all that money. Thank you.
Heck yeah, dude.
And so, we booked the place. We get all ready. COVID happens. And, so obviously COVID started, in March. It was when it kicked off. And so we're kind of like sitting there in limbo, like, do we get to have the wedding? Do we not? What are we doing? And then the people that owned the place where we got married, they were kind enough, it was still very much, we got married in September. And so it was still very much, quarantining and social distancing and all the crap that went along with it. And so they let us go out there and just have kind of like immediate family only wedding, which actually ended up being great. You only had so many people that you had to worry about. We went out, we took the pictures, did all the things, and they let us come back the next year and just have a party. And so
Heck yeah, dude.
we did the ceremony one year, and that was what it was. And then we just threw a big frickin' party and had a band come out, and that guy was awesome. He had a 3-piece band behind him, and we just had drinks and good food and got to walk around. We didn't have to worry about anything. Everything was already set up. We didn't have to transition from the wedding to the reception and blah blah blah. We just showed up to party, and we partied pretty hard, and then we moved on with life. So
love it, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, we just did on our wedding. I was right when I got out of the Air Guard out there in Virginia, and I was doing the park ranger thing, and so the park office, just because I was working there, they comped us like the fee for normally renting the park for your wedding and that kind of thing, and they just had like this big colonial garden. It's kind of like one of the attractions out there. So we did ours in there, same thing, just had immediate family there. And then we came back to Iowa and did the party thing. I think that's the way to do a wedding, dude. Just do it small and then throw a party. Like you said, you don't have to worry about any of the other logistics. It's just you show up and hang out and do it awesome. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize your wedding broke up like that. But yeah, it's pretty similar to ours, minus the COVID situation. So
yeah,
that's good. Heck yeah, dude. And so what's family life look like now before we jump into your background with hunting?
Yeah, I got 2 stepdaughters. They are both teenagers now. One is currently driving, and so we've got just all the joys that comes along with teenage girls and driving cars. And
Heck yeah.
yeah, it's so I'm in paramedic school right now, and then my wife has her own business here in West Des Moines, and so between work and school, and then her work, and right now she's just a one-man show, so she's doing everything. I don't know, like 500 patients.
Wow.
We're just super busy all the time, and the girls do show choir. They're not big on sports or anything, but they do show choir. So the last few months, it was just going around the state to different places and doing show choir competitions, stuff like that. And then, yeah, man, it's just kind of go all the time. And
yeah, and you still squeeze in time to get out there and get your buddies some turkeys. That's awfully kind of you.
yeah, well, when it works out, it works out real well. So
exactly right.
actually,
man. Well, that's
I
awesome.
mean, right now it worked out real well only because we're in a break in between the second and third semester, so we've got the week off for class. I mean, I was still working, obviously, but yeah, didn't have class to worry about. So on my days off, we were able to sneak out and get it done.
Go wreck a turkey's day. That's awesome, man. Well, very cool. As far as a hunting background, as long as I've known you, you've been outdoors, you've been hunting, you've been doing all kinds of stuff out there. Like what in your background got you into hunting and fishing in the outdoors world?
I mean, my dad and my grandpa would be the 2 things. Honestly, I don't know how old I was when I first got to go hunting. It's just always something that I remember doing. I know I do remember being younger, and I was too small to take a gun, but I got to take my BB gun with me, and I thought that was just the coolest thing. So I mean, from that age, whatever that is, maybe 8 or 10, somewhere in there. And yeah, just grew up hunting deer, mostly deer and pheasant. And Yeah, we had access to just some really good ground around here. My grandpa farmed, and so he had a piece that he leased the farm ground on, and it was 500 acres and just held some awesome deer. And so that was kind of how our winters were spent, was just our family would come down, my cousins and stuff from Guthrie Center, and we had a shotgun group, and we'd push that piece, and we'd spend the weekend just pushing this piece, and it was nothing for us to get 15 or 20 deer in a weekend, and
Yeah.
we'd get some good bucks in there. I shot my first buck out on that piece, and it was probably a mid 140s 10 point, just a nice buck. And yeah, we just lay some does down. And it was great. And then my grandpa retired from farming, and the guy that took it over was not inclined to let us continue out there. So he just hunted it all for himself, and we had kind of lost that, but we still had some other ground, and I think that's around the time I got into high school and stuff like that. And then, you and I joined up on a couple deer hunts there, hunting down the road from my parents' house and stuff. But yeah, we did a lot of pheasant hunting too. The pheasants around here when I was real young were pretty good, and then there was kind of a lull in my teenage years where it kind of dropped off and the bird numbers went down. But the last few years have been pretty good around here. Bird numbers are coming back up a little bit, but then it wasn't after, like, turkey hunting and stuff, I didn't really get into until after the Army. We had done it a couple times growing up, but just weren't ever successful at it. So going into high school and stuff, it wasn't anything that really consumed my time. I was all focused on bow hunting and shotgun season. And then, after the Army, got out, and the girl that I was dating at the time, her dad had some farm ground up in northern Iowa, and got to do some turkey hunting up there, and ended up getting some turkeys, and then that just kind of set the hooks in, and now I enjoy bow hunting. There's nothing better than bow hunting during the rut in Iowa, but man, I love shooting turkeys. Like, that is one of my favorite things to do.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's been good, and we, like I said, now I'm finally to the point where pretty consistently harvest a bird, or in Iowa you're allowed 2 tags, so sometimes 2 a year. And I go up to Minnesota and hunt with my goddaughter up there, and she's super spoiled, only because they've got 40 acres up there. It doesn't look like much from looking at it, but there are just turkeys that absolutely load into that place. And we, up until this year, I think I'm going to have to make a repeat visit back there. I went up 2 weeks ago. I think it was just too cold, and they hadn't really kind of kicked off yet, but every other year other than this year, she hasn't really known a hunt to last more than 30 minutes. Like, we go out, we set up, sun comes up, the birds fly down, the birds come over, we shoot one, and then we go eat breakfast. And I mean, it's always about 30 to 45 minutes maybe after shooting light has started, and we're tagged out, and so then this year, yeah, we went up there, and it was super cold, and we had about 8 hens fly down right into the decoys. I mean, the one flew down and she walked 2 feet out in front of the blind, and I was like, oh, here we go again, but didn't have a single tom with them, and none came in to check them out. And so, yeah, it was just a rough go. And then the weather went bad on us, got super windy and super cold. So we packed it up and came home. But Minnesota does something cool, actually. I just found out this year. I've never had to worry about it before, but I found out this year that they have seasons like A through F.
Oh, wow.
And you buy your tag. Well, if you don't fill your tag, you buy whatever season, A, B, C, D, or E. And then if you don't fill your tag during those seasons, during F, you can go out and use your unfilled tag.
Oh, wow. Is it just a one bird state then? So like if you just get one bird regardless, or is it like Iowa where you can get another tag for the last season?
Yeah, I think it's just one bird.
Okay.
But yeah, if you didn't fill your tag, you can use that one. But and Peyton still got her youth tag, which, much like Iowa, is good for all seasons. So we'll try and go up and at least fill hers. But I just thought that was a pretty cool concept for the state to do.
This episode is powered by Dead Nuts Outdoors, makers of the most lifelike, lightweight, and weatherproof 2D archery targets in the world. That's right, I said 2D. We're talking full-size animals that bring the hunt to your backyard. Whether you're dialing in before the season or just burning daylight with your bow, Dead Nuts Targets makes practicing fun, training on full-size animals to ensure every rep in the backyard converts to success on your trips to the field. Built to last, easy to haul, compatible with any backstop, and 100% made in the USA, Dead Nuts Outdoors is a proud supporter of our veterans, investing in conservation and rooted in building a better, more confident community of hunters every step of the way. They are proud supporters of the Prayin and Slayin Podcast Network, and you can get 10% off your Dead Nuts targets by using the code Prayin and Slayin at checkout. That's Prayin and Slayin at your checkout, or visiting the link in the show notes. Dead Nuts is helping us all hit the spot, not the dot. Hit it, Dead Nuts. We've all been there. You're 6 hours into a sit and the buck you're after is nowhere in sight. Your knees are absolutely barking against the bark of that tree. Most hunters just suck it up until they can't take it anymore, and then they head for the truck. But you can't fill a tag from the couch. Comfort isn't a luxury, it's a tactical advantage that keeps you in the game longer. That's why you need the knee bag by Light to Fire Outdoors. This isn't some cheap foam pad. It's a patent-pending bead-filled design that actually molds to your knees and supports your hips. It's built from ultra-tough, weatherproof Cordura. It won't soak up water or gain weight when the weather turns sideways. It features padded wings that cradle your knees and even has MOLLE attachments for your thermocell or other pouches and gear. It's 100% made in the USA, handmade by veterans, so you know you're supporting an awesome cause every single time you get in the tree. The best part, it's a multi-season tool. Strap it to your body for saddle hunting or mount it to the tree trunk as a knee pad, or when rifle season hits, turn it sideways. It becomes a rock-solid 15-inch tree-mounted shooting bag for those precision shots out of a saddle. Whether you want coyote tan or mossy oak bottomland, this is gear that evolves with your hunt. Stop fighting your gear and start focusing on the hunt. Get yours at www.prayinandslayin.com and use my code PRAYIN10 to get free shipping on your order. You can also hit the link in the show notes. The knee bag, comfort evolved. Stay steady, stay ready. In the woods or on the water, it's the small details that dictate success or failure. A ruined diaphragm call or a lost fly isn't just a nuisance, it's a blown opportunity. You spend thousands on the hunt, don't lose it because you didn't protect your tools. Puck Outdoors has solved this with their 100% made in the USA modular twist lock storage systems. For hunters, the Puck keeps your elk and turkey mouth calls protected, organized, and dry, and ready to run. No more warped reeds, searching through pockets, junk drawers, or the truck floorboards. For fishermen, the Fishing Puck features a magnetic tray and 4 modular compartments to keep your hooks, flies, and weights locked down in exactly where you need them. It's compact, it's rugged, and it's built to keep your most critical gear in peak condition season after season. The best part is they fit right in your pocket, your bino harness, or your fishing vest. Don't let poor organization be the reason you come home empty-handed. Go to puckoutdoors.com and use code Prayin and Slayin to get yours. That's code Prayin and Slayin to save 10%. Protect your calls, secure your tackle. Puck in, pack out.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it sounds like Iowa outpriced you to where you said, screw it. We're flying 24 hours to New Zealand to go hunt something totally exotic, because I think is ultimately where this podcast was going.
Yeah, no, that was a once in a lifetime thing.
How'd you guys come up with the idea to say we want to go there?
So we had looked at different places. I had managed to get some funds together, and was talking to my dad, and we've always talked about wanting to do a hunting trip or something. He had gone up to Canada and shot a bear with a kid that he takes hunting, who's in a wheelchair, and they got the opportunity to go with raised hunting, and some people from Winterset here, and got to go up to Canada and do a hunt with them up there with an outfit. And he came back, he's like, oh, I really want to go do something, because before that, him and we had gone out to Colorado one time right after I got out of the Army, and did an elk hunt out there, but it was just a public ground hunt. And it was unseasonably warm, and we might as well have been just hiking with a gun. That's essentially what we were doing. We didn't see any elk the entire time we were there. And so he was like, yeah, I want to do something like this where, he's like, we saw a lot of bear. You're going to get something basically when you're going up there. And
yeah.
But we've been talking about it for 10 years, just never had any money to go do it really. And so finally had some money saved up, and we were like, all right, we're going to do a once in a lifetime thing. And if we do, what are we going to do, and where are we going to go? And started looking around and looked at Canada for like moose as an option. But then was talking to a friend of ours who has done just a bunch of hunts all over the world. And he was like, hey, yeah, I mean, you can go up there. He goes, but just so you're aware, like, I've been to Canada 4 times moose hunting. And he said, I've shot 1 moose. So he's like, there's an opportunity, there's a possibility that you go up there and you don't shoot anything, and you just spent $12,000 or whatever, it costs for whatever outfitter you go with. But he goes, that's possibilities. And, and this guy, he's not cutting corners when it comes to booking guides. So like, I'm sure he was going in some top-notch places. And he said, it's not that he didn't see some moose while he was up there on the other trips. They just never had any shot opportunities on some. And so I was like, okay, well, I kind of want something to show for it, and we looked around, we looked at Africa as a possibility. And then my dad just called me one night, and he was like, hey, we had a friend that moved to New Zealand, and she lives down there with her husband now. And he's like, what about New Zealand? And what about doing a stag hunt? And I was like, I'm game. Like, I just want to go somewhere. So so yeah, we started looking around, and I just got online and happened to find the website for the outfit that we ended up going with, and yeah, man, it was great. It was Mountain Hunters of New Zealand was who we went through, and um, it's a family run operation, and dude, you couldn't ask for anything better. We talked to him beforehand, and I think he was probably kind of laughing to himself a little bit because I asked, I was like, "What are your success rates like?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, well, it's 100% refund if you don't shoot anything." I was like, "Really?"
So
And
your
he goes, "Yeah."
livelihood depends on us killing it. Yeah.
He goes, "It's 100%, fully guaranteed hunt." Now that if you shoot something and wound it and don't recover it, that still counts. But he's like, if if you take 0 shots at an animal while you were here, like, you will get all your money back. He was like, nobody wants to travel halfway across the world and not go home with something. So he was like, yeah, it's money back guaranteed. Um, and just based off of what I saw, I'm going to guess they have never had to do that. And and he told me beforehand, he was like, yeah, you can expect to see 6 bulls at least while you're out at night, morning and night, because you go out 2 times, and so, and we saw way more than that, but yeah. So to back up a little bit, we had talked about New Zealand, found it, kind of decided this was what we want to go after, and did read the reviews and stuff from him, and actually had seen some different reviews from people in Iowa that had gone there, and so we're like, okay, like, this is where we're going, and so got set up, flew down there, and got all ready for the hunt and everything, and then my hunt lasted 20 minutes, so, uh, which again, I can't. I'm not complaining by any stretch. But yeah, man, we fly down there. It's like it would have been a 12-hour flight had we not flown to Australia first. But just the way our flights laid, we flew to Australia and then we had to backtrack to New Zealand. Um, so you get in on Sunday night, sleep at a hotel, wake up, go to the train station, which from our hotel that we stayed at was a block away. Jump on a train, and the train takes you up to the closest town to them, which is Masterton. And one of the guides meets you there. You load your stuff up in the van and head to camp from there. And so we had a couple other people in camp with us. I think we had a family from Oregon and a family from California, and it was actually pretty cool. The people from Oregon, the wife was originally from Alaska, and she taught up there for quite a few years, and they lived up there for a while. So we got to talk to them about Alaska and stuff like that. And so that was kind of a cool connection. But yeah, man, we go into camp, and the first day, you get in there around 10 o'clock or whatever, get settled in, they give you lunch, and then you go sight in the guns and go hunting for the afternoon. So we go sight in the guns, and um, they've got 2 different farms that you hunt on, and they're 5,000 acres each.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so we we were hunting on the one that just happened to be right behind the gun range, and so we go in and we go up to the first hilltop, and we're glassing, and there's like 30 different animals on the hill across from us, and down in there's a creek that runs through it, and we were there during the roar, which was cool. So, it's their version of the rut. So they're just starting to chase, and like it was just heating up when we were getting there, but like you could just hear them grunting and making the noises that they do. And so we're not even up there for 2 minutes glassing, and one comes running out of the trees that are down below us and stops. And the class that we ended up going with was 325 to 350, I think was the class. It was what they call the high bronze. And so this bull comes out and he's standing there, or the stag comes out and he's standing there. And I just look at the guy and I'm like, yeah, let's call him 340. And he's like, actually, yeah, you're pretty close. And I mean, I have no idea how they score them. I'm just throwing numbers at the wall. And he goes, actually, yeah, you're pretty close. That one's in your class. And he goes, do you want to shoot it or do you want to wait? Because we just got here. He goes, there'll be other opportunities. And I was like, man, I didn't fly all this way just to look at them. Let's shoot it. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, man, I'm sure. Like, if you say that one's in my class, then let's do it. So,
Yeah, let's let her rip.
Yeah, so got all lined up and took the shot, and he only went about 10 yards or so, and kind of piled up, and that was that. That was my hunt. And he goes, well, that was the fastest hunt of the year. And so my dad's ended up taking like a day and a half for him to get on one. And again, it wasn't that we weren't seeing them. Like I said, he told us that we'd see 6 every time we went out, and man, we saw way more than that. Like, you'd go up on the hilltop and you'd be on this side and glassing and looking around, and 10 on that hillside that you're looking at. And then, and on top of that, you got just other animals. You got the roost deer and all, I don't know, they had 5 or 6 different, they had elk that had crossbred with stag. They had, cyca deer and all sorts of stuff. And so you're seeing all of these, fallow bucks were the other one. And so you're seeing all of them just all over the hill. And, if there wasn't something in your class or whatever, then you just kind of walk over the crest of the hill on the other side, and it's a whole fresh start and a whole bunch of more animals. And you glass there
That's
for
wild.
a while, and if you didn't see anything, then you just move on to the next hilltop and kind of start the process all over. But there would be times too, it was a lot slower pace hunt than what I expected. Like, I mean, mine was super fast and right there, but like once we actually started hunting for my dad's, it was a lot slower pace, and that was the one thing that I wasn't expecting going into it, just because I didn't know. But they tell you when you first get there, like, hey, trust your guides. Like, it's going to be a slow process, and so they give you this heads up, but like it still just doesn't register, or didn't register for me, like how slow that process could be. And that's just because, the guides are trying to make sure that they're in the class that you went after. And so they got to sit there and try and judge every single one and be like, yep, he's good, or no, he's not. And on top of that, down in the valleys and stuff, there's just such thick cover that they all hang out in. And so, you're looking at the hilltop and you'll be like, okay, here's all the animals. We've seen them all. None of them are in our class. Let's just go somewhere else and find one that is. Like, why are we still just sitting here? But
yeah,
man, you look one way and you look back, and like 3 more have come up out of the bottom that weren't there before. And they just kept coming up out of the trees. And so like there was a couple nights where we just, sat there and and glassed and glassed and glassed, or well, a night and a morning, and we're just like, all right, what are we doing? Like, are we ready to move on? And then all of a sudden another one would come up out of the trees and be like, oh, okay, like this is why we're waiting. Um, but that was something I didn't expect, was it to be slow paced. It's not that it was a bad thing. I just wasn't anticipating that so much. I kind of thought like we'd get there and like, oh no, we don't see one. Like, okay, we're gonna move on and go find one and really chase after them,
Yeah.
But
Like an elk or a mule deer hunt
but
almost, where
yeah,
you're kind of spotting and then running and gunning a little bit.
yeah. So yeah, we ended up finding the one for my dad to get on, and got over and gotten range, and he ended up getting his, and then we're both kind of sitting there like, well, now what? We got a couple days left. What are we gonna do? Well, we might as well add some more animals. So it very quickly became kind of an add-on, which was super nice and super super easy to do. Like I said, the people that we hunted with, they tell you when you get there, hey, yeah, if you guys want to shoot anything else, like just let us know. We'll give you prices right there in the field. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so, um, so yeah, it was super easy, super, super awesome. The food was great. The house, like I said, it was a family run outfit, and uh, so it was the owner. It was actually the house that he grew up in as a kid, um, and yeah, it's a nice place, and they've got a couple of places out back behind the house, some additional kind of living quarters rooms for people to stay in. But we were in the house, so I never did go back and see what the other areas were, just because other people were staying in them. But the
Mm-hmm.
house, it was nice, and all the people were super great. Um, so yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, then we got our stag. We added on some rams, and those were fun. They weren't super easy to hunt, but they weren't super challenging either.
Yeah.
But still, they were fun. They're gonna make a super cool mount. Um, and then uh, my dad added on some fallow deer, which we were talking about. We were kind of kicking it back and forth, like, yeah, do we? Because I had just wanted to add on a ram, and like that was going to be uh, my price point. At that point, I was like, no, I've spent enough money, and I'm good. I'm content with what I've got, and so my dad was like, well, it's a once in a lifetime deal, and we're only here once, and so he had talked to him and worked out a deal on two fallows. So we got the opportunity for both of us to shoot one of those, um, which again, that ended up being a little more challenging. Just finding the one in our class.
Mm.
Again, there were fallow bucks everywhere. We were seeing them everywhere. Just nothing uh, that was in our class, and so we were glass and like, oh no, we either find young bucks or ones that were bigger than our class. But yeah, again, we were able to finally get some and connect on them. And my dad's got a little western there for a minute. He I think it was like a 250 or 300 yard shot. I think it was closer to 300. And man, he put it about just 1 inch too low when he pulled the trigger, and so we've got it on video. But he ended up skimming the brisket and smoking the leg, so it was wounded, and then from there the race was on. So we ended up chasing it through the timber and running all around, and we're finally able to get it down and whatever. But yeah, it became a circus there for a little while. But
I can imagine.
Yeah,
especially when the wounding is taking it home at the end of the day, right? Or you're paying for it either way. That's I'd be doing everything I could to be putting him on the ground too.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it was good. Like I said, it's one of those hunts. 10 out of 10, I would recommend it to anybody. Like if you've got a once in a lifetime hunt that you want to take where you've got a high success rate, and it's just kind of stress free, like that's where I would go. I know a lot of people that have gone to Africa, and everybody loves Africa. Let's Gone that I've talked to. And obviously that's another hunt where you're highly successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one for me, like, I don't know. And it's always just the fear of the unknown, I think, more than anything, going to a country like Africa where you hear different stories about the tribal wars and all the things. And I don't want to end up on, one of the
CNN.
wrong side of one of those news stories. But, I know plenty of people that have gone over there and had no issues. So it's probably just an irrational fear. But
yeah,
you don't hear those things coming out of New Zealand. So it was it was a little bit of peace of mind, and man, the countryside is just absolutely beautiful. Like once you get up into the hills and stuff, it was just awesome country. Going around the time that we did, which was the end of March, like I said, the roar was just starting to kick off. I think if we would have waited maybe a week, it would have been kind of full tilt. And dude, it was just everywhere you looked, you just heard them roaring and going to town, running around. So,
that's so cool.
If it would have been one more week, I think it would have been super wild. But even still, just when we were there, I mean, the guide we were with, you could tell every time one would start getting amped up, like our guide was just jacked. He's like, oh yeah, like this is what I live for. Like every year, like this is, because I don't think it's a terribly big window let they do it, but he's like, this is what I live for. Like when they're roaring, like this is what it's all about. And I mean, he was just amped to just sit there and watch them. So like the last night we were there, we were all tagged out. Everybody was good to go. But we just went out and watched a couple beasts roaring and moving around and just spent the night glassing animals. And yeah, man, they've got something for everybody too. Like I said, we had two other groups in camp with us. And, my dad and I, like, we were on the lower end of the pricing list, as far as class. And the people that were in camp with us, like, they were up towards the higher end. Dude, they shot some absolute freaking monsters, for stag and for fallow deer too. Like they just shot some absolute freaking beasts of animals. And that was cool to see. But like that was the great thing about this place, and probably some of the other outfitters in New Zealand too. There's something for everybody. Like you You don't have to go there and spend, you know, endless amounts of money. You can do it on a fairly reasonable budget and still have a blast, you know.
That's awesome. That's super cool, man. What when you said you decided in the guns there, did they have guns for you, or did you guys pack your own? And then what calibers were you using?
Yeah, so we had talked to him beforehand because I was like, "Hey, I got a gun I want to bring," and he pretty much told me like, if you got your heart set on it, like you can. But he said it's like a 3 month process to get stuff done. So he's like,
Oh,
if
geez.
he goes, if you're super set on it, like, and you want to do the paperwork, by all means, go for it. But he said otherwise, like, we've got the guns here, everything's suppressed, and so just come on, use our guns, use our ammo. Doesn't cost you anything more, like it's all included. So
Yeah.
um so yeah, we just went over there, kind of empty handed, just with hunting clothes and some boots, and they had uh, seven 7 mil mag and 30-06. I think were
Okay. Yeah. So
the two different calibers that they had. I think it was just Remington 700 rifles, basically.
yeah,
Um,
good old classics.
yeah, and I mean, I could be wrong. It might have been a different brand of rifle. I didn't look too closely, um, but yeah, I mean, more or less, it was like a Remington 700. Um, and yeah, like I said, it was suppressed. Um, which that was another thing about them. I had talked to our guide, and was like, "How hard is it for you to buy a gun here?" And he's like, "It's not. I can go in right now and buy a gun and all the ammo I want." He goes, "And I can also buy a suppressor. Can you do that?" I was
Yeah.
like, "Well,
Right.
yeah, I can do that." He goes, "I don't have to do paperwork. I don't have to do fingerprints, nothing. I go in, I buy a suppressor. I'm walking out the door today." I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, I can't do that."
No,
and
not in the U.S., man.
yeah, so he's like, "Yeah, no, it's super easy for us to get stuff here." They don't, from what he was telling me, like they don't have hunting seasons. It's just open. So like, um, he said when you get onto public land and stuff, like you can still kill stag on public ground. But he said it's a lot harder. Um, than when you get into like where we were. It was a lot of farms and stuff like that. And then, um, so there's not as much pressure. But he said, public ground, he's like, people are hunting year round. Um, but he said, it's still doable to go out there and kill a decent stag, but you're not going to kill any monsters like what you're going to find on the different farm areas. Um, where again, like
For sure.
they're not a high fence. Um, uh, there's old cattle fence and stuff up, but there's just not as much pressure and stuff in that area. So
Yeah, they're not getting beat around and probably got a more reliable food source. Well, I mean, New Zealand's a lot of grass, I guess, but I mean, whatever. They're going to be eating some different things probably and more reliably, less pressure. All of it just lets them be more natural and lets them get bigger. That's for sure. Well, it sounds like a hell of a once in a lifetime trip, especially things getting tight there in Iowa. Probably good to go out and do something where you could just go slower a little bit, not stress about it, and then especially just show up empty handed. I didn't know how that worked if people, pack over and bring all their own stuff and guns and weapons and the whole nine. But
yeah,
yeah, I wouldn't be doing a 3 month process either if there was an option to, rent one basically or use one over there.
yeah, and like bows are completely different. We actually had two people in camp that shot their stag with bows that they had brought, and I mean, that's a super easy process. You just show up and walk through the airport with it, essentially. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, that was cool, and like that, I wish I would have shot one with a bow. That would have been super fun. But again, it was one of those things where I was like, man, I'm only going once, and I don't want to. I don't want to either make a bad shot and not recover it, or just have something happen where I don't get close enough and I'm not able to harvest one. Because I'm probably only doing this once.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I was like, I'm just gonna use a rifle that way. If the opportunity presents itself and I need to reach out a little further, I can. So, uh, yeah, bows were super
Yeah.
easy, and honestly, like, I mean, those guys both got their stag. Uh, I mean, it took them a couple days. They had to do some hunting, but yeah, they were both successful and both able to harvest. So that was pretty cool to see.
Awesome, man. And then how far were your shots? When yours in 20 minutes? I mean, was it a poke? And you said your dad's was like 300 for the follow?
Yeah, I think my stag was uh two 200, right at 200. The ram was like 150 maybe. And then the fallow was like 150 to 200 yards, somewhere in there. Um, they said
Awesome.
they said for the most part, they like to keep things within 200. It just makes it a little better for everybody involved.
For sure.
But but yeah, yeah, they were all right around that 150 to 200 yard range, so not too terribly far.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, when especially I can't imagine with being a guide or running an outfit service, I'm sure you get literally all types of people through there, and people that maybe have never even touched a gun in their life that are trying to shoot for the first time, all the way to, I mean, you infantry trained, whatever, where 200 yards might be something you just kind of don't even think about, I guess. But yeah, I've always, even hunting and stuff too. It's like even Montana was most spot and stock stuff I got a chance to do with rifles, and the only one I shot further, I've had two shots on animals that I did further than about 200, 250 yards. And both of those were on purpose because I'm like, I want to stretch myself. Now that I'm more proficient at shooting longer distance and stuff, I want to be comfortable taking a 400-yard shot. So I intentionally did a 415 on a mule deer. And I think it was 295 or just at 300 was a pronghorn doe down in Wyoming. But those ones were just because I've gone to a couple long range shooting schools and I've been practicing and just wanted to get used to it. But yeah, everything else is like, it's, depending on the situation, I imagine these guides are pretty damn good at it too. It's just getting you within 200. Seems like it's relatively doable in most cases, depending on what your hunting situation plays out to. But then I like the 200-yard distance, especially if my wife's going with me or whatever, because it's, I mean, there's some logistics to it, but at the end of the day, the gun's doing 90% of the work. If you can get the crosshairs and a steady
Yeah,
rest, I mean, 200 yards with most modern
yeah,
calibers, 30-06, 7 millimeter, whatever. I mean, the gun's doing it. A lot
yeah,
less room for error. So that's cool, man. The
yeah.
one thing I wanted to ask you too, you said your class on the Stag was 325 to 350. What happens if they go tape it out at 351? Is it like, I mean, I've seen
No,
places here in Texas where they start talking about that, and it's just like, I mean, for every inch that's over, it's like it's an expensive fee, like on whitetail bucks, for example. Like, what happens in that situation? Because the guide told you to pull the trigger at the end of the day.
yeah, that's on the guide. So they've got it
Okay.
just right there on their website. Like if the guide says pull the trigger and it ends up being you know bigger than what it's supposed to be, then that's on the guide. Um, I never did ask like the guide, like, so what happens to you if you do that? But
Yeah.
I mean, I think um, obviously there's some sort of incentive for them to make sure that they're not doing that. But yeah, no, if they tell you an inch or two over or whatever, but they talk quite a bit, and so like we had one like my fallow buck, for instance, was um, probably more in the silver than the bronze as far as scoring. Um, but we were in the bronze category, and so we were glassing it for a while, and he's like, "Man, I don't know. It's like it's either the highest bronze it could possibly be, or it's silver." And so like they've got their spotting scopes, and it's set up with a magnet so they can just set their phone right on it, zoom in, take pictures and stuff. And so they're communicating back and forth with the owner and stuff. And so he had sent him some pictures, and he goes, yeah, that's an old mature one anyways. Like, it's not going to get any bigger. And so he goes, even if it is silver, like whatever, let him take it. So,
Heck yeah.
So like I said, they were super great people, and super super easy to work with. So yeah, like I said, we couldn't have asked for a better experience, and yeah, they but yeah, that's one of the things. If they're having issues, like if they're second guessing, like is it maybe a little too big, like all the guides kind of talk back and forth in their chat text, be like, hey, what do you guys score this one at? What would you score this one at? And then, if they've got any questions from there, like they'll also just message the owner and say, hey, like, this is what we're looking at. This is what I think it is. And he'll either give them the thumbs up or the thumbs down. So from there, I guess that kind of takes it off their plate a little bit if they are questioning it. And then, then at the end of the day, the owner was the one that said, hey, yeah, go ahead. So, but yeah, like I said, that was a situation we ran into with the Fallow where he was like, man, it's like right on the edge. I don't know. And so, yeah, he sent a message to the owner, and the owner was like, yeah, he's mature and he's not going to get any bigger. So just go ahead.
Let her rip, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's super cool, dude. Yeah, I think New Zealand's it's always been something that's interested me, and I've never known anybody that's actually gone personally. Now I have, and you've probably got me talked into it. I just need to get on. You said Mountain Hunters of New Zealand's website, and go start checking it out for making some plans for the future. Super cool, dude. Is it you got other plans to try to get out of the country or other bucket list hunts in the future, or is this kind of like truly that once in a lifetime like hunt that you were looking to book? Now you're just settling back into turkey and deer.
Oh no, I mean, turkey will be something I always go after. I mean, elk are definitely on my list. Like I said, I want to get a little redemption there, because to go out and spend $1,000 between the tag and gas, and probably more once you add in food and all the things, and to not even see an elk and just kind of hike around with a rifle in the mountains, like that was stupid. So yeah, I'd like to get back out and get on an elk and do that. Moose, that's something I'd always like to do, but again, it's one of those things. I mean, it took me 36 years to get to New Zealand, so I mean, elk seems pretty attainable.
Yeah,
but moose hunt, I don't know. I'd have to save quite a bit, and I would, after talking to quite a few people, I think I would like to go to Africa, try it, but
yeah,
who knows? Elk
sure.
will be the big one, and maybe even just going out west and shooting a speed goat. That'd be fun too.
Yeah, man, getting out west and the speed goats and the mule deer, even mule deer, man. If you like that adventure hunt in New Zealand, honestly, pronghorn and mule deer became my favorite things. Elk was definitely fun to chase and get after. I never ended up getting one on like the spot and stocks. I've got close a couple times, had some opportunities I probably could have had a shot. Just unfortunately had my bow strapped to my backpack still and ran into stuff or whatever. But yeah, I got some elk with a bow, one out of a tree stand, ironically enough, and then another one on a rifle hunt in New Mexico, kind of one of those things where they pile into a ranch and that type of stuff. So, but yeah, as far as like just hunting where you have no shortage of opportunity to really get into the animal you're chasing and have an adventure doing it, like I think it's hard to beat mule deer and pronghorn for sure, whether it's open sage country or mountain hunting or whatever. It's just kind of a different thing where I never went out on a day and didn't expect to see something or expect to figure out a situation where I could put a stock on. And maybe I never pulled the trigger, but I don't think I ever went out on either of those two types of hunts and didn't have an opportunity to make it happen, or at least try or whatever. But yeah, we'll talk offline too. I think if you want elk hunting, there's some opportunities I've gotten through the grapevine that could be a good opportunity to get you on, at least get an opportunity to definitely see them for sure with a bow in your hand if you're open to archery hunting them. But there's some cool stuff to be had there, and different people, especially they're veteran friendly and things too. So we'll get with you after that. But yeah, man, I know I told you I'd keep you till 8. We're running a little over. One thing I always ask every guest to do on whether it's Operation Hunt or just standard Prayin and Slayin is to leave us with something good. And you've got enough life experience and multiple country experience now and everything else to tell us something you feel like the world needs to hear a little bit more of from the words of Craig Greer.
Oh, shit. The world doesn't need any knowledge from me. No, man, I'd say just the big thing in life is to stay humble and be kind. You know, it'll get you a lot further. We've had, just in the fire service that I've seen, you know, we had some people that roll through the door and think they know it all and think they've seen it all. And that's a quick way to get everybody around you to not like you. So, yeah, that's my advice. Just be humble, be kind, and it'll get you a lot further in life.
I love it, man. Yeah, simple words. I don't know if I've been to many modern day millennial kitchens that don't have that hanging in the kitchen somewhere. Be humble and kind. But yeah, easy words. And I think you're exactly right. Yeah, I think the part of life with that is just if you're not humble, life has a way of finding a way to make you humble. And maybe it's like you said, you're the arrogant guy or whatever that walks into a room. The people around you will humble you quick, or you know, anything you get proud of in life, it's just knocking on that door of waiting for that opportunity to knock you right back on your butt. So you have to get up again. So no, I like it.
Yeah.
Well, awesome stuff, man. Well, keep growing that mustache. You got me getting the itch to get mine really rocking. I think yours is thicker than mine ever gets, but I got you on the length, so that's always what matters.
Yeah, I can't curl mine around.
You just got to just play with it, dude. You just got to play with it. Play with it till people make fun of you, and it'll start curling.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, I'll let you get back to it. Man, thanks so much for coming on. I know we played a little tag trying to get this thing coordinated, and it's been good getting to see your face again. And thank you for your service, by the way. And yeah, man, we're just proud to have people like you coming on telling their hunting stories, man. And congrats on an awesome New Zealand trip.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it, guys. That was Craig Greer, one of my longtime buddies from Van Meter, Iowa. I grew up in Earlham, just a couple towns away, and man, we had the pleasure of knowing each other as little kids and playing baseball together against each other, I guess, and then high school hanging out, and then of course both went different directions military-wise, Air Force and Army, and man, hunting always keeps us rooted back together. I've had the awesome opportunity to hunt with him and his family and friends on some of the classic Iowa deer drives, and man, wouldn't trade it for the world. What an awesome dude. I love what he left us with. Just be humble and kind. There's really, really simple words. I made a joke about that being in most millennials' kitchens, I think. I just see that sign all over the place, but you know what? It's a good message, and that's why it's so popular. And the verse it reminds me of is James 4:10. It says, "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up in honor." And I think there's just a lot of peace in that, man. The more humble we are as people, God created us to be humble creatures under him and under his authority. And there's a lot of times in life where we just want to grasp whatever we can and grasp our own authority and things, or try to think we're better than really what we are. But if we just stay rooted in who we are supposed to be in this life, and that's a servant of God, and we're built to praise him, and just submitting ourselves to Jesus and what he's done to save us. And none of us are perfect, and through Christ Jesus we get to be made perfect again. That's an extremely humbling thing to remember. And God definitely has a way of lifting us up and making some pretty cool things happen when we can show faith in that we are humble servants of him, and then he can take us to places we'd never even dream of. Just an awesome thing and great words to live by. So thanks, Craig, for that. This has been an awesome long gap here between Operation Hunt episodes, but it's always great to have another military member on. The whole Light the Fire Outdoors mission, the parent company behind Prayin and Slayin, network here is Veterans Conservation and Community, man. So that's what we're all about, and we love serving those guys. And when it comes to veterans, again, supporting our sponsors and supporting the partners of this podcast helps us spread our mission. We have a License to Kill initiative here, if you didn't know that. And the License to Kill initiative, Craig was actually one of our 2026 recipients of a hunting license sponsored by that. And you guys made that possible by supporting our partners. A portion of all the proceeds from the knee bag sales from Light the Fire Outdoors. If you're a saddle hunter, go check out the knee bag at prayinandslayin.com. If you're in the market for an archery target, check out Dead Nuts Targets. And then, of course, Puck Outdoors, man. Get something to store those hunting reeds up for this fall or next spring. Or the Fishing Puck, getting anything from there, or just supporting anything from our store, or just listening to the podcast, man, supports things like that. So congrats, Craig, on being a recipient of a hunting license sponsorship from all the partners and all the people listening to this show who've supported that. Craig Greer, baby. There you go. There's one guy that say now you know a voice and a face and a name of someone who got sponsored there. So go check that out, lightthefireoutdoors.com, under the impact page. And guys, thank you so much for listening, man. There's been a lot of support going out there. Our partners have been reaching out, letting us know how many times the codes have been getting shared and used, and it's been awesome to just know there's people all over the country and in some cases all over the world listening to this podcast. And our whole goal is to help one more listener maybe find who they are in Christ and spread the good word about that. And of course, remind everybody that we're all part of one big giant community rooted in hunting, and together we're better than we are separate. So with that, guys, go do something awesome for somebody today. Go shoot your bow at a Dead Nuts target, rest your knees on a knee bag, and keep praying and slaying.